My name is Brennan Galley, and I work for SFM. And SFM distributes many different products across Canada, and one of them is Pioneer DJ. And today we're going to be doing a DJ101 demonstration. And really it's going to take a look at the features of the entry level to step up controllers and players. And we're going to take a look at how to set up a system. We're going to take a look at track preparation. We're going to take a look at mixing in key and in time. And we're going to do a comparative of Rekord Box versus Serato. The goal of this demonstration is to provide you with the information that you'll need to go out there and make an educated purchase. This slide gives you a really good overview as to what different products are available on the market right now and kind of where they sit in features and functions. Starting out, we have DDJ400. This is a Rekord Box controller. So the buttons will control the software on your computer. The DDJ SB3, this is going to do the same, but with Serato. And we're going to talk again about what the differences of those are. We then have the CDJ350. So this is a CDJ, a CD player. We have the XDJ-RR. This is a multimedia player where you have the ability to have content on a thumb drive, have content on your phone, or even have content in your computer if you want. Now, the piece that we're going to be doing the start of the demo on is the DDJ200, and that sits right about here. I say that because the DDJ200, it doesn't have a sound card on it. And we're going to discuss what is available to still help you navigate and be a good DJ in that situation. We then have the general DJ equipment up above here. And so we have things like the RX2, step up from the RR. And we have DDJ1000, so the full platter controllers. Gives you that club feel. It feels like a CDJ, but now it's on a controller. And there's the one that we're going to look at today. It's called the DDJ1000 SRT. The DDJ1000, it works with Rekord Box. The DDJ1000 SRT works with Serato. Above that, we have the pro level gear. So PLX1000, we have one of those today that we're going to take a look at, the record player. And you have the 900 Nexus there. And above that, you have the tour stuff. So really this is like the layout, but we're going to begin here because this is where we start. And this is a DJ101 course. And really we have to start within our budgetary needs. We start with what we need as far as features go, but we also have to respect how much money we have to spend. And if we're aware of the other products that are out there, then we can make a move when it's actually like appropriate to do that. So DDJ200, it will connect with your phone. It will connect with an iPad or an Android tablet through the Bluetooth. It also behaves as a Rekord Box dongle. What that means is that when you plug the DDJ200 into your computer, the software will recognize it and know that you have a full license to use the performance mode inside a Rekord Box. Rekord Box 6 just came out, and that introduced all Rekord Box controllers to unlock it. So that's available now. It's a free download. So yeah, definitely like check that out if you already have a Rekord Box controller. As I mentioned before, there's no audio in or audio output on the DDJ200. And what they do is they include a splitter cable to sort of get over that. And what the splitter cable does is it gives you a headphone feed and it gives you a main output feed as well. There's no booth output because there's no sound card on it. It relies on the sound card of your iPad or of your computer. But because it's within that environment, if you use the WeDJ app and some other apps that we'll look at today, you have music streaming service available with it. So that means that pretty much all the music is your library. And that is definitely a huge cost when you're starting out being a DJ, is just collecting the music that you want to play with. So this is a great way to start to think about what you want to play, because everything's there for you, which is incredible. So again, getting back to the splitter cable, what does it do? It creates a headphone feed and it creates an audio out feed. So you can still listen to the tracks before you mix them in, and you can still have something feeding into a system. And again, it's an audio output, so it works on a phone, an iPad, a tablet, or a computer. If you're using something without an 1/8" audio output, you'll need an adapter cable to get that connection to work. So let's take a look at using the DDJ1000. The DDJ1000 is a great controller because you can use it with your iPad or you can use it with your computer. The software that Pioneer DJ makes to work with it is called RB-DJ. Let's open that up. And I disconnected the RB-DJ just so I can show you how to set it up. Right now I can see on the unit the Bluetooth MIDI light is flashing, so that means that the connection has not been made yet. That's a good quick indicator for when you get one. So let's go up into the gear. And I'm going to go connect the DDJ1000. It's identified this DDJ1000, so I'm going to select that one. There we go. And it's going to do a little blink and open up or show the RB-DJ logo there. So I'm going to go to done, and now I can see that the light has gone solid, where it's the Bluetooth MIDI, and my pads are now lit up. It's synced. It's working now with the software. Let's play back this Dwight Shank song using a hot cue. And what a hot cue is I can set markers in the song, and then I can recall that playback position later. Once I set it with the song, it's set with it. So every time I load in that song, I'll have that there and available again. The DDJ1000, it gives you a pad mode select on the device that you're using as opposed to on the actual controller. And if I want to change the hot cue setting, if I want to move on to something else, I can push the loop button. And now with loop selected, I can either be in my manual setting where I set my in and my out, and I can exit from there if I want to. Do another in, another out, and now I can make it double the length if I'd like by pressing this pad, or make it half the length. And again, exit will stop that loop. If I go to auto, then every time I hit a pad, it will loop it for that many beats. Let's start with 8. And now I can jump to much smaller fractions. Let's do a quarter. And release it by hitting that pad again. Next to that, I have pad effects, and I'll find this on the Rekord or on the Pioneer DJ equipment. And when I do pad effects, I can do multiples at a time. Which is, of course, a lot of fun. Next to that, I have my sampler tab. And that's going to allow me to play back different sounds. And I have that duplicated for the other deck as well. Let's go back to hot cues. The app RBDJ and Rekordbox, and really Pioneer DJ, figures out a different level to the music when you load it in. All the software will figure out the BPM and the key. And what WeDJ and Rekordbox does is it figures out the different sections of the song. And it does this by taking a look at the dynamics of the music. What that means is that I can have a track playing back over here. And on my second deck, I can have another track loaded in. I can push phrase sync. And when it comes down to 0, there's going to be a logical transition point, which is really great when you're DJing, especially if you're not too familiar with the content. We're going to take a look at how that extra algorithm that they figure out from the music, we're going to see how that can affect your light show later on in this demonstration. The WeDJ app gives you a bunch of other great tools to use. It has an XY pad in it, which I can select right here. And when I touch on the screen, you can hear different effects in there. And right now it has pitch with flanger. I can go to edit and I can select maybe a filter with the, let's do spiral. Let's try that. It's a lot of fun. Underneath the XY effects, I have slip mode, and this is really common on controllers. What it means is that I can stop the song using the jog wheel or the pads, and it will play the track in the background. When I stop whatever it is I'm doing, it will start playing back where the song would be had I done nothing. And I can turn that off right here as well. Underneath that, I get the color effect select, and this will change what this knob does. It's really common to have it as a filter, which is set for right now, but I get other functions as well. It's the jet sound, crush, and you get the idea. I'm gonna put that back to filter. So you really do get a lot of the tools available that you would have in other controllers. The DDJ1000 does not have a sound card on it. And what that means is that you need to use this cable that comes with it. And it's this cable right here. This goes 1/8 inch and it splits the audio and gives you a headphone feed and gives you a main output. So that means that on the controller, I can push Q and I can listen to the track with the volume fully down. And that means I can get the timing all set up ahead of time and then turn up the volume when it's sounding good. Now with this iPad, it requires this adapter cable. So I'd put this adapter in. This is sold separately. And then I'll take this 1/8 inch cable. And now I have a headphone out and I have a main output, which is really ingenious. It allows us to use a controller where they haven't had to put in a sound card, so they've enabled it to not be as expensive to make, and it utilizes our device to put everything together. So yeah, really great way to get started. One other thing I want to talk about is content, because content can be really expensive. These days, content can be a challenge because if we play stuff that's copyrighted, then our videos will get muted. If it hadn't been for all these great musicians around me, I wouldn't be able to do this presentation for you today. And really, when you're starting out, you may not have that much available. So I'm going to go and just tap on the load section. And right now I'm using content that's just in my music, but I could also select beat port or SoundCloud. So I could select different streaming services and then have an endless amount of music available for my iPad. So this is a really good way to start to research music, start to check out what's out there, and a really good way just to have all the music available so you can get started fully right away. To connect the DDJ1000 to my computer, I'm going to grab this USB cable. I'm going to plug it into the back. And I've already got the other end plugged into my computer. When Rekordbox recognizes that the DDJ1000 is plugged in, it's going to give me this prompt, which is a bunch of different tutorial videos. And I'm just going to close this up here. You'll notice as well that it tells me where I can watch those videos afterwards. And now on the bottom left, I have all of these different pad select options. So this is what we would have in DJ. It works the same way with Rekordbox. If I want to select them and change what the pads do, I just click, and now I have a different function. So now that we've gotten a good overview of the DDJ1000, why move up? Well, really, it's all about the sound card upgrade. It allows us to have that quality of sound that if we're going into a full system, we really want a dedicated sound card and we don't want to rely on the computer's sound card. You also get the pad select option, which the DDJ1000 doesn't have, and this can improve the way that we perform, the speed in which we can move around from the different pad scenes. You get your headphone cue controls right on the hardware, so you can turn up and turn down the volume without having to dig in too far into the hardware. And of course, it's a larger size, so it's a lot more comfortable. It's a lot easier to do different pad performance functions on something with a bigger size pad. Let's take a look at the DDJ1000 SRT. So really, what's the difference with the DDJ1000 and the DDJ1000 SRT? Well, it's really just the difference between Rekordbox and Serato. Serato is used everywhere. All the different companies create hardware that will work with it. And Serato will create the drivers to make that equipment work. That's why if you buy a new piece of equipment, in order to get it to work with Serato, you have to be sure that you update to the most recent version, because that's going to have all the driver installation right inside of the software. So with Rekordbox and Pioneer DJ, both pieces of equipment are designed simultaneously. And this really allows them to have a flexibility that can only be obtained between making your own hardware and software at the same time. That's the biggest difference. They both are going to play music. They both have really wonderful tools available. And as we go over the features of the different controllers, I'll point out, hey, this is a Rekordbox only feature that I'm showing you. But generally, they do the same thing. It's really about what you're comfortable using and what you need to perform with. So let's take a look at the DDJ1000 SRT setup. Because we have our own sound card on the 1000, I have the main output on it, but I also have the booth output. The booth output is a separate output with a separate output volume that will feed into a monitor for me and will sit right next to me on stage. By having it there, it means that I can control the volume of it, I can control the timbre with the highs and lows, and I can just be sure that I'm hearing the sound as close to what the performance is. If my speakers are way up at the front, well, it's going to take a few moments for that sound to come back to me, and that can really affect the way that I perform. So this is a way for the DJ to know exactly what they're playing through a speaker. You also have the headphone output, and the headphone output allows you to send a cue so you can listen to the tracks before the audience does. This way you can link up everything ahead of time and blend it in once you're certain that everything sounds good. And really the headphone NQ and mix blend is a common feature available on all the controllers with an audio output. And there's different ways to set it up, just really based upon what your preference is. Let's do a DDJ1000 SRT pad overview and take a look at all the different features that we have available through Serato as a DDJ1000 as a controller. The DDJ1000 SRT was introduced after the DDJ1000. The DDJ1000 uses Rekord Box and the DDJ1000 SRT uses Serato. And it was something that was really heavily requested to have a controller that felt like the Nexus system, so the system that's out in all the clubs, but that was able to run Serato. And so that's what this is. And a big part of that is really something called muscle memory. So muscle memory means that as you're practicing, your hand just starts to automatically reach for different functions. And so when you learn on the DDJ1000 or DDJ1000 SRT, you're getting the same feel as you would for the big club stuff, for the big pieces of kit that are out there. So let's get a track started. And this is more Dwight Schenck. The pad setup and pad mode is still there. It's a little bit different than what we see on the DDJ series though, because this is meant for Serato. So now I have a roll section where I can do a unlatched roll. So that means when I release, it's going to play through, and I have a parameter switch which allows me to toggle how quickly it's going to roll. So let's give it a listen like this. And when I release, it's going to play back the song as if I had done nothing. Down below, this is for jumping back and forth, so I can go back to the left with the track or to the right, and I can change the size of the jump right here. So this is changing how far it's going to work, and then I have the outside pads to move. So you can have a lot of fun with that functionality. You also have slicer mode, which is a Serato feature. And my parameter button is going to change how quickly the roll is. And the idea is that when I hold down a pad, I can revisit any part of the song that was playing through. If I go shift, slicer loop, it's just going to loop that section and allow me to do a slice playback when I want to. I have the sampler section as well. And it's a shared sampler section on both sides of the deck. There's still banks available, so I can toggle through the banks if I want to. And that really defines a big difference in how they work. It's still pad modes. There's some subtle changes, some subtle ways that you'd perform with it. You have the classic Pioneer DJ effect, the color effect system, the sound color effects. So I can select and then apply that to any of the channels that I want to. I have the effect section over here as well. So I can say, okay, channel 1, and we'll put on a little bit of reverb, and now I can hear the reverb. Some really great sounds from that, especially in these paddy type places. I'm going to press the first pad, revisit the start of the song. And because it's on the 1, I know that the timing is going to be appropriate. Now, this next thing I'm going to show you, it's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun with this. And what I'm going to do is take the Mobius effect, which is a endless sound, and this is available on the DDJ1000 as well. You'd have it in the effects section, and the 1000, but it is something that you find on the Pioneer DJ gear. I'm going to assign this to be onto channel 2, and I'm going to use my right arrow to make it 64 positive. Now when I turn this up, I'm going to have that frequency available. And I'm going to go pitch on my color effect. And now I essentially get a synth. And let's move that to Crossfader A. And of course, I can have a lot of fun with that if I want to as well. Let's get this other track started on the other deck. Crossfader over, up a little bit. Here we go. And again, for how I do it, I press it a couple of times. I use my visual indication by touching the outside of the jog wheel, and then I introduce. And I had that pitch. That's a strange effect. Back we go. And of course, on the DDJ1000, I get 4 channels available. I also have dual USB, so I can run 2 computers simultaneously and just change which computer I'm grabbing from. And you can see that that's available on the channel strip up top. I'm either grabbing from USB A or USB B. I have a booth output. I have the same headphone output with all my headphone controls on it. And again, the biggest benefit I feel is getting muscle memory. Let's go into slip mode. And again, I'm going to get this second channel started. The way that the deck works, when I stop the track on the other deck, I would just touch it and it would stop. Where on the CDJs, you actually need to cut and push to make it stop. And of course, with slip mode engaged, I can do different fun things. Whether or not you want capacitive touch function is your choice. This just essentially allows you to make that choice. And just a quick summary of what capacitive touch is. On other pieces of equipment, usually with a metal top to it, when you touch it, you break the electromagnetic field because you yourself have a bit of electricity in you. And when you do that, it stops the deck from playing. But on this CDJ style, it actually requires a push. So let's go slip mode so that it doesn't jump around too much. Or actually so that when I release, it's going to play it back where it'd be had I done nothing. And we'll cut. And of course, as long as I let go where the rhythm would be, then it's going to sound okay. I can also play with the pads as well in slip mode. The DDJ1000 SRT brings you that feeling of a CDJ Nexus kit at a fraction of the price. It gives you a lot of deep functions inside that are made specifically for Serato. And it's a very affordable way to elevate what you're doing as a DJ. When you're making a choice whether or not to be on one platform or another, just remember that there's this software called Rekord Buddy. And Rekord Buddy is going to take all the information, like your hot cue position and your BPM and all this stuff, and it's going to translate it to work in other DJ software. So that means that you can move very easily from Serato to Rekordbox and have both rigs running, which is often the case. Another difference with Rekordbox 6, to talk about it while we're talking about Serato, is that Rekordbox 6 integrated all this wonderful technology to allow you to transfer your content from your computer to your phone wirelessly. You can transfer the content from your computer to Dropbox and have the content shareable. So if you're working with a bunch of different people, this is a great way to have all the content available. And that's available now, and Rekordbox 6 will work with any Rekordbox controller from Pioneer DJ, and there's a list of them online to show you everything that it's going to work with, and it allows the controller to behave like a dongle. So that means that when you plug it in, it's going to unlock the software for you. When you're thinking about getting content, especially nowadays that we're all doing a lot of online stuff, think about the artist that you're getting the content from. If it's truly a unique discovery, then use this platform to promote them. The music that I've shown today has been made by Dwight Shank, and by myself, and by Ian George Light. If you want to watch other videos I put together, I'm available on YouTube as Brennan R.K. Galley. The most difficult thing of using multiple DJ platforms simultaneously is really being able to transfer the information from one to the other. There's this bit of software, it's called Rekord Buddy, and it's a metadata translator. So what that means is that it will take the work that you did in one DJ platform and make it work in another DJ platform. If you're moving in between Serato and Rekordbox, this is a great tool just to take care of all of that work. You don't want to have to do that work again. So this is a way to sort of relax and not have to redo your entire library over again. You can buy it online, and it's spelled Rekord Buddy, as you can see on the slide there. So let's take a look at track preparation, and let's talk a little bit about key. And we'll talk about the Camelot analysis versus the key analysis. On this slide here, you can see that I say that the key analysis, 8A equals A minor and 8B equals C major. What does that mean? Let's take a look at it a little bit more with the actual Camelot wheel here. And really what this wheel is referring to is that if you have a key, so when I load software into Serato or into Rekordbox, it's going to analyze the track and it's going to figure out what key that track is in. Once it figures it out, I can use this wheel to decide what track is going to sound good without even hearing that track ahead of time. For instance, if I have a track that's selected as 8A, I could go to 9A, which is E minor, or I can go to 7A, and it's going to sound good. The reason why is that it's something called a perfect fifth. And what a perfect fifth is in music theory, if you go up 5 notes from your root or your first note, then they're going to sound good together. And you'll hear this throughout music. This is just a very common thing, and it's really a giant basis on how chords are built. The 1 and 5 sound good. There's a lot of other notes in between that can change how that sounds. Using the Camelot wheel introduces that kind of theory into your DJ set and creates predictable ways to just to know what is going to sound good. Now, you can also see that something like 8A, like I said, it also works with 8B. And this is something called the relative minor or relative major. I'm going to go over one more slide, and I'm going to show you this, the circle of fifths that we were talking about. Now we can take a look and see just the note values and the different key signatures for those note values. So you can see that with A and C, A minor and C major both do not have any sharps or any flats. So they're using all the same notes in the same scale, therefore they're going to sound good with each other. And a major sound is one that's happy sounding, a minor sound is one that's sad sounding. And so this is now introducing our ability to emote or change our expression. And again, we can do that just by looking at how it's been analyzed. So that's really the difference between the key signature and the Camelot. And really, as a brief overview, what does that mean? So 1 digit up or 1 digit down is a perfect fifth. And we know that in chord structures, a perfect fifth sounds good all the time. But you can also use this to experiment further. You can use this to pick other distances and hear what that spacing sounds like. You can make your own judgments on how that sounds, and then you can use that as a tool in the future. This knowledge is just going to add to your expression as a DJ, and it will introduce some music theory into what you do as well. Next, we're going to take a look at mixing in time. So really it's about keeping the rhythm going by selecting BPMs that are close to one another. BPM equals the speed of the song, how quick or how slow it is. And BPM can also work within the idea of fractions. So I have an example here. The 60 BPM will work with a 120 because 120 is just double the speed. You can play with these fractions as well to find some unique rhythms and unique ways to play with DJing. So with all this in mind, let's take a look at the DDJ1000. The DDJ1000 from Pioneer DJ gives you deep record box integration in a way smaller form factor. The way that they've achieved that is they have 2 channel faders available as opposed to 4. So let's shrunk down the mixer section by a little bit. You still have the ability to access channel 3 and channel 4, and you have those little strips in the top, and you can see how in the software that's going to change what track we're playing back. Same over here as well. So if you're used to having channel 3 and channel 4 available to prepare your tracks and to have them ready to load back, then this controller will suit your needs really well. So let's get this Dwight Shank tune playing back on channel 1. We'll just put that there and get it started. I have pad mode with the DDJ1000, similar to the 200, but instead of having to use the computer or the tablet to get into the functionality, I actually have like a little button section here for my pad mode. So I can go to pad effects and have effects available. I can change through those effects with my pad. I also have my beat jump functionality as well, so I can move around the track and not have it skip a beat. I have my sampler option, and I have a sampler volume as well. One thing that's really great about Rekordbox is that when I have 2 sampler sections open on either deck, I have 2 completely different banks available as well. If I wanted to get into some pitch playback functionality, I can go Shift, Keyboard, and when I release, it's going to flash and have this cue selected. So there's the original root sound, and I can pitch up. So if I go Shift Hot Cue, like I did just there, then I can select other pads. So the hot cue actually becomes the pitch performance. If I want to change the sound while it's playing back without jumping around the track, I can go Shift, Key Shift, and now I can push the root. And I can use my page to change the range. And it will flash the root, it will have the root as a white pad. So I know that that's where I go to if I want to return it to its original setting or the original sound. So I'm going to get a track going on deck number 2. I brought my crossfader over, and I'm going to press the pad. And for me, I do it multiple times to feel the rhythm. And when I feel like I have it, then I stop tapping. And now I can use my outer wheel to make it really match up, And I can do my blend with my crossfader. Now, if I wanted to do that and be able to listen ahead of it, then I can use some headphones to do that. So with these guys, the DDJ1000 I think you can see those there. These are great headphones. They just are nice and compact. They fit on my ear okay. And I'm going to take them and I'm going to plug them into the front of the unit here. Because the way that I showed you how to mix there is more of a visual way of mixing. And also it takes knowing the tracks that you're playing as well to know how they're going to sound together. And that's just because of doing the video production, how I'm putting this together today, that I chose to do that. So now I have my headphone mix. So I have the cue buttons on each deck available here. And I can only listen to the cue, or I can listen to the cue and the full output. And then I have my master control here. So I can listen to the tracks ahead of time. And then I can know that everything sounds good before I press play and let other people hear what the sound is. So right now on channel 2, we have this filter effect. I can also go and select things like dub echo. This is a really great Pioneer DJ function. Little pitch play. I also have an effect section right here, and I can select whatever type of effect I want. And right now we're on channel 2, so I'm going to say channel 2 for the effect. I'm going to turn down the level. I'll turn it on, and now I can introduce that effect. And if I push this button, it's going to drop it out. If I want to run 3 effects simultaneously, I can do that on the DDJ1000. I have my effect select right here. And I can say that I want that onto channel number 2, the one that we're listening to right now. I'll turn that on. And now the more I turn that up, the more I hear that effect. Over here, I can take the sound color effects and apply that to it. And then on the deck, I can go to my pad effects section and apply other effects to it as well. So there's a lot of ways to add to the tracks that you're playing back. The DDJ1000 has a sound card on it, so it has the headphone output, it has the main outputs, and it also has a booth output as well. So I can take an audio output from the back of the unit, and then I have a volume control right here to change how loud that is. That allows me to change the volume of what I'm listening to. So I'd have a separate speaker next to me as I'm DJing, and then I would be able to make adjustments over the course of the night as volume changes. So with the Rekordbox integration with the DDJ1000, we can bring in other bits of gear as well. We can bring in something called the RB-DMX. So Rekordbox to DMX lighting control. What does that mean for DJs? When Rekordbox is doing the analysis of the songs, it's doing a phrase analysis. So it's figuring out the intros, the verses, the choruses, the bridge, all this information. And we saw what that does with the DDJ1000, where it can line up the songs. With the lighting idea in mind, it will now introduce light shows that are automatically generated, which is extremely empowering. Now we can really entertain as we're doing our presentation. So let's take a look at that. When Rekordbox analyzes a track, it looks for a third parameter that you don't find in other software. Let's go and just right click on this track here, and I'll take a look at the Analyze Track option. And right here you can see it says Phrase Analysis. I'm going to cancel because I've already analyzed that track. And what phrase analysis will do is it will take a look at the dynamics of the track, or the strength, the power of the different parts of the song. And when it does that, it's going to figure out the intro, the verse, the chorus, the bridge, like all these other parameters. And when I have something like the RB-DMX, this is going to take that lighting control from Rekordbox and feed that into a lighting rig. And I can have these customized light shows. So I have a couple tracks loaded up here that I've prepped ahead of time. And again, the analysis is automatic, so it's going to build light shows, but then you can go in and do changes. So let's press play over here, and we'll listen to this track. This is by Ian George Light and myself. The album is Galley Light Galt Life. So we're going to press the first cue, get that track playing. And what I've done is I've set it up so that the light show starts right there. And as I move through the song, there's going to be different parts of that song with different light shows that's already been pre-programmed. So every song can have its own light show to it. Now that combined, I'm going to go into Rekordbox, and I'm going to click on this tab. And this is Rekordbox 6. So if you pay the subscription, you'll get the video option as well. So now I have video in my computer, and I have a light show that complements. So let's go back to the start, where I can turn off the lights. And I'll press a pad, move into another part of the song. And on my second deck, I have another song that's also from the same record. The record was made for DJ sets, so there's a lot of similar keys, a lot of similar ways that it integrates. So I'm going to push the first pad, and I'm going to have this other track. And you can see that my crossfader with the video is going to make transitions. And now the light is going to move with the crossfader. Now inside a Rekordbox, I'm going to double click on the screen and minimize that. We're listening just the one track now, so I'm going to go back to the start and have that playing. Again, the lights will come up. Now I want to be able to do a light show on the fly. I have this pre-program in there, but now I want to expand upon that. So I'm going to go up into Rekordbox, and I'm going to click on this pad option. And you can see that I've taken this option right here, which should have been my beat loop, and I've introduced this user pad into there. And I've assigned a bunch of different lighting functions directly in there. So what that means is that if I go back to the start and I go shift, pad, loop, now I can change the color of my lights. I can add a strobe. I can even add other functions in there, like a loop, right? So I can hold that down and then have it come back. So I can have audio effects, audio process mixed in with my lighting control. This is incredible. I have an American DJ lighting kit in the back. I have the Pocket Pro and the 5P hex par back there. And everything was set up to work. I prepared this ahead of time. And really for this video though, it's just about knowing that you can do this stuff. And there's a lot of content out there that will give you the details if you decide to go down this route. As I mentioned at the start, this demonstration is designed to help you find the tools that you need. So are you going to be a bedroom DJ? Are you going to do weddings? Are you going to do clubs? Do you want to be a modern DJ working with synths and other stuff? Do you want to be a scratching DJ? Let's take a look at the PLX1000 with the S9. If you were hoping to get into more of a scratch DJ kind of setup, you'll likely be looking someday at the PLX1000 and the S9, also from Pioneer DJ. With this setup, it allows me to take something called control vinyl, and this is the Rekordbox control vinyl. And what happens is when I put my needle onto it, so we'll take that off there, then this is going to transmit to my computer time code. So it's going to tell my computer the position of where the record is, and that allows me to scratch with vinyl but have every sound in my computer available. So to get things started out, I'm going to get a beat happening first. So I'm going to go and press play on the SP16. And this is just a loop that I built ahead of time. The SP16 is a production piece and allows you to create your own rhythms. Typically, people would have two turntables, and one would play the beats from the one deck and the other one from the other deck, but this is the current setup here at the home right now. So let's get this sticker aimed up to the needle. And once I have that position, I'm going to press this hot cue, and the hot cue is going to put a sample that I want to cut with right at that position. So that means when I press play, then I can cut and have that pass and know that that's my position to do that in. And of course, you're going to have the crossfader available as well, so then you can do some more elaborate cuts with it. Now, I want to show you what you can do if you want to go next level. You want to go above and beyond that kind of setup. And I'm going to do that with a product called Phase. So on the other side of the room, I have the Phase setup plugged into the DDJ1000 SRT. I'm going to put that right onto the record and give it a second just to sort of settle in. And then on the DDJ1000 SRT with the Phase plugged into it, I'm going to set this as the hot cue for a sample over here. The sample over there is exactly the same as the one I have over here, but I've put a delay effect onto it using the color effects from the DDJ1000 SRT. So what that means is now when I cut this past the needle, I'm going to be controlling two rigs simultaneously. Let's hear what that sounds like. And of course, if I put my crossfader all the way over, I'll only hear the sample playing from that rig. And then if I go into the middle, I'll hear the dry signal as well. So that gives me a new way to sort of do my DJing and my cutting, which is a lot of fun. And of course, with Phase, It's got a magnetic strip that goes onto the record. So I can take off the record and do my cutting without even the record player. And so if you can imagine, there's a lot of different ways that you can start cutting with phase. So that's another option that's out there on the market as well. If your goal is to be a bedroom DJ and to just enjoy music, which is awesome, then the DDJ1000 will work great for what you're up to. You're going to have an endless supply of music through streaming services, through your iPad and through WeDJ and other software that's available. You're going to start to learn the tools that are going to elevate your DJ game and create that muscle memory so you can start performing. And of course, as we mentioned, you have the speaker on your phone just to listen to at the start, or you can plug that splitter cable into headphones or into powered monitors or really any source so you can grow and adapt as you have more needs. If you want to be a wedding DJ, having a talkback mic is super important. So you want to start looking at things like the DDJ1000 for that. You also get the monitor out control, so you'll be able to listen to a good balance when you're at the venue. And of course, you're going to have a proper sound card. So when you're playing back through a full PA system, it's going to sound really great for you. Once you start integrating in the lighting stuff with the RB-DMX, you're really going to have these shows put together. Maybe you want to be a club DJ. Well, the DDJ1000 or DDJ1000 SRT is a great way to get into that. The starting cost for a club kit is really expensive. So the DDJ1000 layout is going to give you the exact feel that you would find in the club. You can gain muscle memory for way less of the price and then really perform properly once you hit the club. If you want to be a modern DJ, well, there is a ton of tools available out there to do that. You can add synths, you can add sequencers, you can add a ton of stuff. And if you check out my YouTube channel, you'll find a bunch of videos that go over how things like the squid works, or really just a ton of different bits of gear there. My YouTube name is Brennan R.K. Galley, and you can see that there on the slide. If you have any questions, now is a good time to kind of wrap up those questions because the video is going to end soon. I've been here for the course of the day just sort of answering the questions as they come up. And yeah, please add any questions here. I'll be sure to answer as much as I can. And yeah, there may be about a 1 minute delay in the feed. So put those questions in now just to be sure that I get them before the end of the broadcast. I want to thank you for watching this presentation. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or on Facebook. I go by Brennan Galley. There's not really anybody else. Well, there's one other person out there with that name that I've found, at least. There may be more. Hey, if you're Brennan Galley, send me a message. That would be really cool. Thanks for watching this video. I hope that it has helped you make an educated purchase on whatever your next piece of gear is. And I hope that you stay safe, and I hope that you stay healthy. Take care.